don't know if that would be overkill, but I can't even tell you how comfortable the knitted shorts are. And I think it would just be really fun to have like a full outfit. Would that be too crazy? Hey everyone, it's Natalie, also known as Knitty Natty. Welcome to episode 186 of the Love and Stitches podcast. Today is Monday, June 19th, 2023, and we are less than 2 weeks away from our move out of New York City, which means that this is the second to last podcast that will be filmed here in this space, which is really starting to hit me now. It's really, I'm feeling like mixed feelings, like really sad about leaving New York, but really excited about our next adventure, which is going to be traveling around the United States in a van. So there's more on that in the last video that we put out, but yeah, I'm just trying to soak it all in and like appreciate and enjoy our time that we had here. So take it in, soak in a little toaster's bottom in the camera here as part of the background. Also, we changed the camera settings today, so hopefully things look a little crisper, a little clearer. Kent's been learning all about that. Very excited to see what that looks like. Maybe it won't make much of a difference. Anyway, I am wearing one of my favorite knitting shirts today, the only V-neck I've kept, if you know about my V-neck thing. But this is from Nerd Bird Makery. I'm gonna put the link down below. It's super cute. I really love this t-shirt. I get a lot of wear out of it. So I started a new project this week. I've been making progress on my other things. So far, moving has not affected my knitting time. I know it's going to in these last few weeks, but I don't know, maybe it's not, because I really feel like knitting and crochet is a grounding thing for me. And still getting to have my mornings to knit and crochet, my evenings to knit and crochet really helps with transitional times like this. So fingers crossed that I still have just as much knitting and crochet projects to show you over the next couple weeks as I have consistently. Ooh, maybe even more as we're driving home to Tennessee. Who knows, who knows. Anyway, that's it for the intro. So let's get into the first project. Hey Kent, you hungry?
Yeah. How about a sandwich?
If I have to have another sandwich, I think I am literally going to be sick. Things have been crazy here for the last few weeks, getting ready for our move, and we don't want to buy too many groceries or use up too many dishes, but I am getting truly tired of PB&Js. That's why I'm so grateful for Factor. Factor's ready-to-eat nutritious meals are delivered right to my door, leaving me plenty of time to tackle whatever is on my to-do list. I love that I can skip the trip to the grocery store. Really, it's Kent because I don't do the shopping anyway. But really, it couldn't be easier. There's no chopping, no prepping, and no cleaning up. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are ready in just 2 minutes. So all I have to do is heat and enjoy. With 34 chef-prepared, dietitian-approved weekly options, there's always something new to try. Plus, you can round out your meal and replenish your snack supply with an assortment of 36 plus sweets, smoothies, juices, and other add-ons. Personally, I really like the smoothies and I love having them as a sweet little treat after lunch. Tonight, I am having the vegan mushroom marsala, which comes with onion risotto and roasted garlic green beans. Kent, what are you having?
Some herb-crusted chicken.
Head to factor75.com/natty50 and use code natty50 to get 50% off your first Factor box. I'm going to start actually with a new project that I cast on this week. So my big main project for this month is my Battenberg blanket, which I'll talk about next. But I finished up the Battenberg blanket squares that I had planned for this week early. So Sunday, I had some extra time for my knitting and crochet. And I've been thinking about starting this new pattern that just came out this past week, and I have the yarn for it already in stash, a yarn that I've been wanting to use up. And it was all just too perfect. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna be careless and just start a new project. I didn't even swatch for it, which is very unlike me. Usually I'm very planned on things, but with this one I just went with my gut on the needle size, on just getting started, on the size and everything, and we'll see how it works out. If anything, I'm having a good time making this project. So let me show you what yarn I'm using, and then I'll let you know what I'm making. So I am using Moonglow Yarn Company in the colorway Wild Orchid. It's a really beautiful pink color. And I got this yarn from Moonglow to put a border on a blanket earlier this year. And I only needed the littlest amount. This is actually, I think, about 50 grams off the skein that I used, but I also have 2 other full skeins of it. I think I'm only gonna need a skein and a half for this project, so we'll see. I went ahead and wound up one of the skeins to start with because the majority of what I'm making is probably going to need this skein, and then I'll get into this one, is what I'm hoping. Okay, so what am I making? I am making the mini mock neck tank by Jessie Made Designs. It just came out this past week on last Wednesday. So I'm really excited to be starting a project so soon to the release date of the pattern. I don't know, I haven't done that a lot in my knitting career, but it's something that I've been wanting to do. Like, I just kept thinking to myself, because there's other projects that I have on my list, but then I was thinking, you know, the whole point of me stashing down, of me using up scraps, using up everything in my stash, is so that I can be in the moment with things that I'm interested in right now. So I feel really interested in making a tank top. It's summertime almost. I guess by the time this comes out, it will be like officially summer, right? But it's like summertime, the weather is warm. I have this beautiful color, this beautiful yarn, and I just finished making a tank top that I really like. But this tank top, I think actually is gonna be even better for me because it's got a wider neck. It's got a really flattering neckline, one that I really like on myself. And so I'm really excited about it. So I've just barely started, and like I said, I just started this yesterday. You start with the back. So you cast on, you do some short row shaping, and I'm working on the back piece here. Yeah, that's my test of seeing if it's gonna fit. I think it's gonna be good. It's turning out really pretty. So normally I'm a big proponent of swatching, so this is kind of like outing myself that I'm even saying this. I didn't swatch for this because the last garment that I made is also a Jessie Made design, and it had the same gauge, but it was a different pattern. Like, that gauge was in a ribbed pattern, this is in a stockinette pattern. I'm also using a different yarn base. So all in all, I really should have swatched. But I just, you know what, I just kind of know right now, like, where I'm at with using US 4 needles, and with the Jessie Made pattern, I was like, you know, I'm just gonna go for it. If things don't work out, I'm gonna be okay with ripping it out, honestly. It will be fine. So I think I'm actually doing pretty close to the gauge anyway. I like the fabric that I'm getting, which to me is the most important thing. Anyway, I am making a size, I think it's a medium. It's to fit a 36-inch bust, but it has negative ease. So the actual finished measurement is smaller than 36 inches. My bust is somewhere around like 34 inches most days. You know, it changes all the time. So this should be a good fit for me. It's gonna be a little bit tight. The pattern itself is actually a short, like pretty cropped tank top. So I'm planning to make mine a little bit longer. I don't know if I'm gonna need any adjustments as far as increases to make that a flattering fit for me, or if I'll just keep the stitch count the same from the underarm down. So I'll probably be doing some trying on once I get to that point. But so far, so good. I think it's looking good. I like the color. I like the color. If I was going out to shop, I might pick a different color to wear, honestly. But I think it's gonna be a pretty one. And I wanted to use up these skeins, so it's helping me with that goal of using things that I have in my stash. So far so good. It's been a really great and easy pattern to follow. I found that with the Ripple camisole, which is the last pattern I made from Jessie Made, that it was really nice and easy to follow. So things are going great. I'm using my Lantern Moon needles. I've been really liking those, and I've got everything organized. I've got my crochet cozy here, keeping everything contained. This is like, I can't remember if this is like 50 grams or not. It's not in a cozy yet. And then I pulled out, so I had to, all of my knitting stuff right now, because we're moving, is in a giant tub, plastic tub, which I'm planning to keep at my parents' house. That's gonna be our home base. And I'm planning to just keep it at my parents' house in a corner or under my desk or something there, because we're gonna kind of set up an area for ourselves, because I don't want that to be in a storage unit. I want it to be easy to get to, but I have packed it all really, really nicely, including my winder and Swift and the yarn. And so when I decided I wanted to cast this on yesterday, I had to go and like uproot a bunch of stuff in the tub, find the yarn, find everything for my Swift and all of that. And then when I went to put it back in the tub, I was like, oh man, I do not remember how I got this together. It was a puzzle, so I just kind of left it. So it's a little bit of a mess there. But now, if I need anything out of there, it'll be easier to dig into. But while I was in there, I just grabbed another project bag so I can keep things organized. And this project bag is from the Pine Cottage, which I don't think they make project bags anymore, but it's really lovely, and I'm glad I've hung on to it. I don't have a lot of project bags anymore. I have gotten rid of so many things, so I really like this one. I like that it has a heavy duty zipper. I like the size of it. I think it'll be good for a tank top, good for socks and stuff like that. So that's about all I have to say about this one, except, oh, I guess it's gonna be my morning knitting now. I was really hesitant to cast on anything new, just because, like, you know, so much is going on with the move. I'm making so many decisions about packing and getting rid of things and all this stuff. And I have all of these sock projects going. And so the sock projects were really great because they were really great portable knitting, really great morning knitting. And then that way, all my other time was spent working on my crochet blanket. Sorry. But then I realized, you know what, it's okay. I'm just gonna start something else. And I've been finishing a lot of the socks. That was one of the things. I didn't want to start another project because I knew it would take my attention away from the socks and then I might not get those done at all. But I'm in a really good place with them. So this is gonna be my morning knitting for knitting and reading, I think from now on. If you do follow me on Instagram, I started something new that I got this idea from my friend Megan. She creates Instagram highlights, which are like on your Instagram profile, the little circles before you, like, you know, it says the person's name in their bio, then it says some description, and then it has the little circles and then their like photos on their feed. And so you can add your stories there. So I've started adding a new highlight with all the stories from a project. So every single morning as I'm working on this, I'm gonna save that little photo in the highlight, and you and I and everyone, whoever's interested, I'm interested, so I think it will be fun, can see the progress from day to day on just working on it for half an hour a day. So that will be fun. So if you follow me on Instagram, you can follow along on the progress there as well. Next up, let's get into my main project for the month, my Battenberg blanket, which I am holding in this bag. It's a Hohe & Co bag. I've actually been getting some questions about this one. I don't know if this bag is still available, like if this type of bag is still one that they make for Hohe & Co. It's really awesome. It's got these like swing up handles. It's great for like having it home, I think, because it doesn't close on the top. And the handles aren't long enough to put on a shoulder, which for me, I feel like you kind of need that when you're out and about. I don't know, I guess it depends, but it's a really great bag for at home. But the Hohe & Co bags, I think, are really hard to get because they're very limited. And so just follow Hohe & Co on Instagram if you want to grab one. This one I did not have to fight for because it was part of Vogue Knitting Live this year in 2023. And if you had one of the packages, you got one. So mine says Vogue Knitting Live 2023 New York on it. There we go, which is very, very cool. So I really like this bag and I'm cherishing it, and it's making crocheting this blanket like a very lovely experience, because every single week I'm taking the finished squares that I've made out of here and then I'm grabbing my new colors to work on, which is really, really fun. So this week Oh, by the way, I'm making the Battenberg Blanket by Sandra Paul with a few adjustments. They're all in my project page. I'm basically making the squares bigger, and I'm making fewer squares, and I'm making a smaller blanket. But all the actual details are there. It took me some different trial and error and math to figure all of that out. And I am using a Homespun House advent calendar from 2022. And I have 24 colors, multiple colors, and then I'm going to be putting it together with a solid. I'll get to that in just a second. But I want to show you the colors that I did this week. So the thing about all the colors that I used this week, I'm not going in order of like how I'll assemble the blanket. I just picked out a bunch of yarns that were in a certain state. So before I used this yarn for this blanket, I was opening it daily in December of 2022, and I was trying to make a pair of pants, but it just didn't look right. The colors just didn't look right with the pattern. The colors were totally fine. The pattern was totally fine. They were just a bad match. So I ended up ripping these pants out before I started this blanket. And so this week I set out to crochet up all of those yarns that had been already used. So they were kind of ramen-like, all wrinkly because they had been knit before. They were also all in 2 balls. So all of the yarns, except for one this week, 5 of the yarns were in like a larger ball that had been previously knit and then unraveled, and then a smaller ball which was left over. And last week I shared that I was missing some of the like yardage from some of those yarns. I still don't know why. I was missing about a gram in some of them. I don't know if it was ends that I cut off because I don't remember swatching. I mean, I did swatch, but I don't remember throwing that away or like using up that yarn. I feel like I would have swatched and pulled it out. So I really don't know what happened, but it all worked out. I ended up having enough yarn to still make 6 squares per color. And now I'm really glad that I've worked through all of those yarns because it wasn't really that big of a deal, but it was a little bit less convenient to work with yarn that has been worked with before because it's a little bit ramen-y. It kind of affects your tension. And then I had to have 2 extra ends because there was, for all but one of them, there was a square where I used up like a partial, or I was able to make part of it with one ball and then had to join in a new ball. So it's just kind of annoying in that way. And I'm glad that those are all used up and done. I did actually save time though because I didn't have to wind any of them this week. So you win some and you lose some. So I've just got everything in here. After I finish the squares, I'm putting them back in their labels so that I can use the labels, the color names, to help me assemble everything later on. So let me show you what I have worked on this week. I think this one I had already finished when I filmed the last podcast episode, possibly, but this one is called Mulled Wine. It's a really pretty pink. Then I'm pretty sure I next did this color called Bohemian, also a really nice pink. And then we finally moved away from the pinks and got into this one, Silent Night, a really, really nice blue. Then I did this color, I believe, Blackberry Jam. I also have an Instagram highlight for this project, which is really fun. This color, actually, it's coming off really nice, really accurate on the camera here. It's a really deep purple. It's so pretty. And then we got into our greens. I had Evergreen, which is a speckled green. And then very similar but more tonal Fern. And that's it for this week. 6 colors per week is my goal. And like I said before, I finished these up early. So my knitting plans for the week start on Monday. So I like doing it that way because then I have like the weekend to finish things up if I have a goal. And so I finished up my last squares Sunday morning and had some extra time. And that's when I cast on the tank top that I'm working on, the mini mock neck tank. Back to this. After I am finished making the squares, I usually have about a gram left. This week it was a little bit Sometimes there's a little bit less than a gram, but for the most part, I have about a gram left. And I have been tying the ends into a magic knot ball. So this is how big it is now. You can see that last color I used, I think Fern, but there's all different colors in here. You can just barely see the blue. So I'm doing a magic knot and then winding it around. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this yet. I will probably just attach it to my larger magic knot ball, and then sometime in the future I'll be making a project with it. Somebody actually asked a question about what to do with magic knot balls, and I'm going to be answering later in the questions segment. So this has been really fun. Oh, I did order my joining yarn. So this Battenberg blanket is really colorful squares and then joined by a soft white color. And I really like that look. That really attracted me to it. And so I've decided to go in the same direction. A lot thanks to your help. Last week I was trying to decide between antique white and rose gold. And after talking to Molly of a Homespun House, she helped me kind of figure out which one to do. And so I have ordered 6 skeins of antique white from Molly, who's going to be sending it ahead of me to my parents' house in Tennessee. So hopefully in the month of July, in the next 2 weeks, I will finish up all 24 colors. I'm 12 colors in. I'll finish up all 24 colors of this. Actually, I haven't picked out my colors yet for this week. So you can see on the top here is like finished squares, and then on the bottom are the little mini skeins. So I need to pick out 6 colors for this week, do a little swap. I'll do that here after this podcast probably, but I have 12 colors left. I should finish those around July 2nd, and then I'm hoping to spend the month of July making the other set of squares. So for every colorful square, there is 1 solid square, and you make them and join the squares as you go. It's kind of it's a different technique than I've ever done before, so I'm gonna need some time to interpret it and figure it out, but I am hoping to get that done in the month of July, maybe a little bit into August. I think it'll take a little longer to assemble than it will to just make squares, and then I want to do a border on it. But the hope is to finish the entire blanket before we leave on our van trip in the middle of August because I just want it to be done. I know it's something that's too big to take with me, so I want it to be done before we leave. So that's like the ultimate goal. But yeah, I picked out the joining color this week, which feels like a big thing, feels really good, and I'm still feeling very enthusiastic about this blanket, and I can't wait to finish it. I have also been making some nice progress on my Sock Week socks this week. So I have all 4 lovely custom colors from Sock Week 2023, which are still available now. If you go into the description box, I have our Sock Week page listed, and you can see if there's still any yarn available from our Sock Week dyers. Sock Week is coming up on July 9th. And I am finishing socks ahead of time, but I'm planning to save, like I have leftover yarn, so I'll still be knitting socks during Sock Week. I just kind of want to have these pairs finished so that I don't have to, I don't know, I guess I want to have like a fresh pair for Sock Week and just do 1 pair this year instead of doing 3 socks to finish 3 sets of pairs of socks. I don't know what I'm really saying. I'm enjoying knitting these and not having the pressure of doing it during Sock Week because I am busy during Sock Week. I'm running a lot of stuff, and so it'd be nice to not have too much going on. So I'm carrying around my stuff in my lovely Stolen Minutes bag. Oh, that's definitely upside down, Natalie. And my Stolen Minutes bag from Carrie. And I have 2 socks that I'm mostly working on right now. 1 pair I've already completely finished last week. Another pair I have gotten to the place where I have a lot of stockinette left, so I'm going to kind of save that one for movie knitting and things. But this pair I have finished the first sock of. So this yarn is from Nicole C. Mendez, and it is called Sock Island. I'm using the soft sock base. By the way, I just ordered some yarn from her too for Halloween. It's like a Halloween I think it's 31 days stripes. I don't remember, but I'm really excited to get it. I think that will be so fun. So I finished the first sock with this yarn. I used both colors of the mini skeins. You can only get 1 mini skein with this set, but I had samples, so I used both. So this is my own pattern that I've just kind of made up with slip stitches and some ribbing here around the heel. This is the third time that I've made this particular sock pattern. There are similar sock patterns out there. And then I've done my ergonomic toe. So last week I was here, and this was my morning knitting pretty much every day, and I got through all of this last week and turned out really, really nicely. And then I decided it would be best, since this is the longest sock, it takes the longest. The slip stitch pattern really does take a long time. It doesn't cover as much ground, and it's a really tall sock leg. So I decided I better just start the next sock. So just barely, I have cast on the second sock of this pair. I just did the cast on, a couple of rows, and now it is ready to go when I need it. So this one's kind of in a paused state at the moment because I don't really need a sock for any occasion right now. That's just the way I think about my knitting. Maybe that's kind of strange, but I'm like, I have a morning knitting project. I have a walking and knitting project, which I'm about to show next. So like, I'm good. I have an evening project. I don't need anything else. So everything kind of goes ebbs and flows. It moves, it shifts in slots where I need different projects. So speaking of walking and knitting, I have a project always in this yarn pocket from Cottontail Farm. Why doesn't it want to? The light is like too bright right now to really show you like the cute little sharks and stuff on here. Anyway, I am knitting on the second sock of this pair. This yarn is from Rising Tide Fiber Co. and it is called Jellyfish Jubilee. This sock set comes with 2 minis, and I have used both in this sock. I'm really excited about these. I really like this yarn base. It's a 75-25 2-ply, and I really like it. I don't know, I just find it like nice to knit with somehow. It's different. So I had just barely started this sock last week, my little Simply Serving markers. I try to use all the sock week stuff like as much as possible to get all the use out of it. There we go. So I had just barely started last week, but I have now finished the cuff. I have finished the heel, and I am currently working on the foot. So this is it's a short sock, but it's not a super shorty. It's not a no-show, but I do really like this length to wear in tennis shoes, like cute little tennis shoes and stuff. I find it really, really nice when it's a little bit cooler outside. Not quite right now when it's like 80 degrees, but you know, when it's like 60 degrees, it's kind of nice to wear hand knit socks. This is the first sock, so already finished. And so I'm about right here on the second sock. And then I'll use the lovely orange to do a couple cute little stripes and the toe. And you can find all the information about these socks in my project page. I try to keep notes on how many rows I do, how I'm doing the stripes and all of that stuff, not just to share with everybody, but also so that I don't forget when I do the second sock and if I ever want to make socks again like this. So this sock is my knitting and walking project. I'm going to Pilates this evening, so I will be taking it with me. I'm going to move my stitch marker down while I'm thinking about it. But I'm really just, you know, still enjoying my sock projects. They've been booted from the morning knitting slot. So the progress on these next few socks may be slightly slower, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of opportunity for knitting socks in the next few weeks because we are going to live it up in our last few weeks in New York. We want to visit more museums. We want to go to more shows. We want to go to all of our favorite restaurants again. So I feel like I'm going to be out and about a lot and need a lot of sock knitting. Before I show my last project, I just wanted to show this off. I don't really know a better place to put this, but my friend Stephanie made me a yarn cozy light. This is the 100-gram yarn cozy out of our special membership colorway from earlier this year. So Brianna of the Little Wolf Knits did a dyeing event with our Love and Stitches members, and together we came up with this colorway, which is called Love and Speckles. And then this little bit on the top is called Toaster. It's so cute. And what's so fun about this is like, I just feel like it's really special as a knitter to receive a handmade gift from another knitter, because most of the time I feel like knitters don't receive knitting, right? Or crocheters too. You're always making things maybe for yourself, but maybe for other people, but nobody is knitting stuff for you. And so I always find it really special, and I always love yarn cozies, so I'm definitely going to be using this. And also, I only have one project out of this very special yarn. I made a Musselburgh hat, but I didn't have any of this toaster colorway, so I feel like it's extra special, and just wanted to say thank you, Stephanie, so much for this. And what a fun idea to use leftovers to make cozies and then give them as gifts to your knitting and crocheting friends. So I am really, really happy. Oops, I'm tossing that off into my bucket of things that are going with me in the van, because I want to take that with me as I travel. Okay, last project here. It's really more of an unknitting thing, but it is progress towards making this project. So last year, I made the Twisted Tea shorts by Brianna Lupino, actually same person that dyed the yarn for the cozy that I just showed, and they came out too big. It was not the designer's fault, it was mine, because I didn't trust the designer. I didn't understand at that time that pants, or like things for your bottom half, need negative ease. And this may not be the case for everything, but for all of the things that I've made a dress, I made these shorts, negative ease has been necessary. Even when I started on the pants from the Homespun House Advent that I'm now making the Battenberg blanket with, I recognized that the negative ease was fitting me nicely. So I have been wanting to either make another pair that fits me better, or take this pair out and re-knit them. If we haven't shown it already, I have a picture of me actually wearing these. I never took a final picture of me wearing these. So not only are they too big around in the waist, I also just don't like the height. Like, they came up too high on me, I think. And so I spent some time this weekend kind of dissecting what I want to do for my next pair. And I ultimately decided that I do want to rip them out and use the same yarn and re-knit them. But before I rip them out, I'm like, let me find out as much information so I can make sure the second time I make them, they fit me well. So what I learned is that, one, they're about 2 inches too long in the rise, so like from the waist to the crotch. And so I was able to try them on. I flipped them down basically to see how long I wanted to make them for the next pair, and realized I need to take off about 2 inches for my preference. And then I also just, you could tell, I mean, you can see from that picture that the waist itself is way too big. But the hips and the legs actually fit really nicely, and I didn't really want to change that. Then I remembered, and thank goodness I have Knit Companion, because I was able to go into that project and see all of the notes on how I changed my first pair. So basically, in the first pair, I cast on a size 4, which is a size too big. Now I know this, but I cast on a size 4, and then once I started increasing for my hips, I realized it was going to be too big, so I stopped increasing early. So basically, I cast on a waist that was way too big for me, then I increased to a hip size that was perfect for me. When all along, I really could have just made one size down and followed that waist and hip increases, and I would have had a fitting pair of shorts. So now I know that, and I need to make them a little bit shorter. So that's basically all I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make the size 3, so one size down. Those measurements match my hips. It doesn't match my waist. It's actually a few inches smaller than my waist, but negative ease. So negative ease just means that the piece that you're making is smaller than what you're going to put it around. And I've been doing negative ease now with the Jessie Made patterns, because the Ripple Camisole had negative ease, which means it's just smaller than your body. I don't know, I always thought that negative ease would be so restricting and so tight, but it's not really that way, especially with yarn, because yarn is such a stretchy, knitted fabric is so stretchy and kind of forgiving in a way. Whereas like I wouldn't want like a stretchy, thin t-shirt material on my entire body clung to my body, right? Like that's different. But like a knitted material is nice. It's great with negative ease depending on how you like things to fit. I also like positive ease, so don't get me wrong. But for shorts, bottoms, my dress, and the tops that I've been making lately, negative ease has been coming out really nicely. So I am going to be re-knitting those shorts. Now, as I took things out, I wanted to be really methodical about things because I wanted to be able to reuse this yarn. So first of all, I pulled out the entire I-cord that I made for the drawstring and realized I don't need to rip this, I can just reuse it. So I'm really happy with that. I've kept this I-cord, so no need to re-knit the I-cord. This will be just fine, even if it's a little long or whatever, doesn't really matter. So I kept that intact, and then I started going backwards. So the last thing you knit are the like bands around the bottom of the leg. So I ripped that out. This was the first leg I ripped out, but it was the second leg that was knit. So I labeled it leg 2. This was the bottom part, and then I actually did helical knitting, which is why you see 2 colors here, even though it kind of looks like one color in the finished shorts. Then I pulled out leg 1. I'm really hoping that because it's going to be similar in size on the legs, I can use this yarn and I won't have to join it anymore, but we'll see. And then the rest of it was all in one thing. So this is the rest of leg 1, then the whole like body of everything, and then this is the top part, which this should be plenty of yarn because I will be casting on fewer stitches for that part when I go back to it. So yeah, everything is really nice and undone, and now I just need to put it away. I don't know when I'm going to be starting this. I was very tempted to just go ahead and restart it right away, but since I just cast on a new tank top and I have all these other projects going, I figured better not to start it right away. I'll start it later when I'm ready for it. Maybe, you know, when I'm finishing everything, all these current projects up in the middle of August before we start van life, I'll be casting that back on. The ultimate plan is I still have yarn left over from these are the 3 skeins that I used for the shorts. They're from Fangirl Fibers, and they're the 50th anniversary Disney colors, so they're really fun. And I would really like to remake the shorts, the Twisted Tea shorts, and then make the Twisted Tea top out of the rest of the yarn and have that all be like a cute little set. I don't know if that would be overkill, but I can't even tell you how comfortable the knitted shorts are, and I think it would just be really fun to have like a full outfit. Would that be too crazy? I don't know. I think it would be really cute and really, really fun. So that's my ultimate plan, to use up all of these yarns, a very special and very fun yarn that is no longer made, that I want to have a cute outfit from. So that's the plan for sometime in the future, but I am glad that I got it checked off my list for this week, so I don't have to do any thinking when I start. I can just cast on and enjoy the knitting. Let's take a look at your questions. All right, first question today is from Jenny651. I love it when you do your planning and show what your intentions are for the coming month, and I have started doing the same. This got me to thinking, what do you do with your notebooks when you have filled them up? Throw them away or keep them to look back on? Do you keep a knitting crochet journal as well, or do you just keep the notebooks and use Ravelry as your journal? I love that question. Okay, so the answer is that I haven't thrown them away yet, but I only have 3. So these notebooks are not just for knitting. There's probably 2 pages out of every month that are actually for knitting, one for stash and one for keeping track of my projects. And then, I don't know, sometimes I'll use, like, this is my current one right here. And sometimes I'll use pages to kind of plan out projects, like my Battenberg blanket. Let me see if I can flip to it. My Battenberg blanket, I'm like drawing things out and calculating things and stuff like that. So usually 2 pages, maybe a few more per month. Other than that, I use this for life stuff, business stuff. I used to journal a lot more, and so these fill up a lot faster. I think my first one, this one, I started in, oh my gosh, I don't keep dates on things as much. Like, this one's really messy. Honestly, I think that I'm ready to kind of let these things go. Okay, so wait, let me get back to your question. I do keep them. I haven't gotten rid of anything yet, but I have never needed to look back on them. I've definitely needed to look back on my current one, and I like to keep in the front a list of things like that I might need to go back to and what page number they're on. So now I number things. So that way I could quickly flip back. Like in this one, I started this one in October. And so the very first thing is my October stash, my yarn in, yarn out. So if I did want to go back and look at last year's stash stuff, I would need to go back to this notebook, I believe, which I started in, this is actually kind of fun to look at, in April of last year. So I used to go through them a lot faster. I used to journal a lot more. I should do that again. That was really nice. But yeah, I don't really go back and look at them. But I don't know if I'm really needing to get rid of them yet because I don't have that many. It's not really like a super huge deal. What I do love about having just a notebook for everything is that this is the only thing that needs to go with me when I take my office out and about. So I have my laptop and this, and that's it. I like that I have everything in one place and not a separate journal, but I could see the benefit of having just one knit and crochet journal and then another journal for other things like, you know, brainstorming about life or planning out your work or things like that, just so that the knitting one has more years in it to look back on and it's all just about knitting. I can definitely see the benefit of that. But for me, this works really nicely because I feel like the journal is a tool to work through the current moment. It's not a necessarily like a trophy or a prize to like go and be like, look at all that I accomplished. Although I guess it kind of is. In a way, it kind of is, right? In a fun way, in a self-reflection kind of way. But I don't really find myself actually needing to refer to them, if that makes sense. And I have so many other ways to track my projects. Like you said, on Ravelry, I keep everything in there. That I actually do refer to quite a lot. I go back and when I'm about to make a project that is similar, maybe it has the same gauge. Maybe I want to make socks in an identical way to one I've made before, or like these shorts that I'm ripping out, I was able to go back to that project page. I turned it from a finished project to a current whip. I was able to add new notes, new photos. So that really is a great place for me to keep track of things for my knitting. So really it's just almost like scratch paper, but all in one place. And I don't really find that I need to go back to them. But yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to just trash them yet. It is kind of fun sometimes to go back and look at your thoughts, look at things and stuff like that. I also like picking out a notebook for my current like stage of life and things that I am interested in and like colors that I want. Obviously pink is a theme here for all three of these. But what was fun is that once I finished up a notebook, I would get really excited and I would kind of take myself on a little date to like a paper source store or a bookstore and like pick out a notebook, and it's really fun. I don't have extra blank notebooks. Like other notebooks, no, I only have the one current one. Oh, and just by the way, this thing is really awesome. It's it has elastic on it, and that's on the inside cover. And then it's a zippered pouch, and I keep pins in there. So all my pins that I need are in here, and also sometimes I'll throw like a lip gloss in there, and everything is just together all the time, which is really, really nice. I found that on Amazon. I'll put the link down below. So I don't know if that helped, but I don't really need them, is basically what I'm saying. They're kind of like scratch paper. Okay. Next question. This one is from Janet. Hello from Mounds, Illinois. I love Toaster's Blanket. Question. I will be leaving this town after living here for 45 years. I have to downsize my books and yarn, also my clothes. I have so much yarn and books and magazines that I will not be able to take them with me, and I need to give it all away. My clothes will go to the women's shelter. I would like to give the books and yarn to anyone that will use it. Downsizing is not easy when you have as much as I do. Do you have any suggestions as how to do it without going crazy? I don't want to put it in the trash can because it's all new and has never been used. Okay, I feel for you so much because I know how hard it is to make those decisions and get rid of things, especially when you have a house full of stuff. I feel very lucky right now that with our move, currently, even though we are having to make some decisions and get rid of some things, the volume of stuff that we have has been gradually reduced over the last few years. We moved from a house into a smaller apartment. We've been getting rid of stuff, like we're always getting rid of stuff. We're always editing our things and letting go of things. Of course, with the move, it's a little bit accelerated, but yeah, it's a lot. So my first thing for you, I would say, is don't let anyone make you feel bad about the way you're getting rid of your stuff, including yourself. I know there's a lot of people that are not going to agree with me on this, but when you have so much stuff to get rid of in a set amount of time, you cannot be spending hours trying to find the right people for it. It's just not practical, it's not reasonable. And maybe it's not the best way to get rid of things to just take them to a donation center or throw them away, but it might be your only option right now. And in the future, you can do better. So that's how I felt for me. When I was getting rid of like a lot of yarn, some things I did actually just throw away. Some things I did just take to the donation center down the street. Rather than spending time finding the right buyers or trying to make money off of it or trying to just give it away to somebody who would use it, that takes so much brain power. And anyone who is telling you that you should do that for every single item that you have is probably not getting rid of their own stuff. That's my opinion. I'm like, really, if you really knew how much it took, you would not be saying that to anyone else. So don't let anyone else make you feel bad for what you need to do. So maybe for all of the magazines, I would say, like, for all the magazines, nobody's gonna want those. I would just take those to a recycling center. That way you know they're not just going in the trash, but they're getting properly taken care of and like hopefully not going back into our environment in a negative way. But for other things, like maybe if you have a local yarn store, you may want to say like, hey, could we do something where like I bring all my books in, all my knitting books, and like people can just take them, like set up a little like table that says just like free take me, you know, kind of thing like that. That would be an easy way to like get rid of a whole category of things. Or could you take them to the library or whatever? But if you have so much stuff that it's going to be a huge strain to do any of those things, you can just take them to the donation center. It's okay. It is totally, totally fine. So when I was getting rid of a lot of my finished objects, I have taken a lot of them to the donation center because where I was in that stage, when I was getting rid of those things, I just didn't like have the brain space to be able to post them online and ship them individually to everyone. So last week, I actually sent out a bunch of finished objects, this big pile here of things. And this time, because I have so much less, I was able to take the time to do that. But I will tell you, I've probably spent 3 hours like organizing, shipping, and emailing people to get rid of 15 things. That's not even including the video that I made about it. That's a lot of time and effort, and nobody should be asking you to do that for every single item that you own. They just shouldn't. And again, you can do better in the future. So now I try not to buy as many things. I try not to hold on to as many things. Like for me now, this has been a habit I've been developing over the last 3 to 4 years, is as soon as I know that I'm not going to use something, I just know it in my gut. Sometimes I'll get something and immediately I'll go, I'm never gonna use this. I put it immediately into a donation thing, and then once that's full, I just like take it to the donation center. So that way things don't stick around for as long. Maybe I'm getting too much into this, but basically do what you need to do, especially with that much volume of stuff. If you can avoid putting it in the trash, I think that's best. Recycle it, take it to a donation center, but please don't put the stress on yourself to find every individual item the best home that it can find. It's just unnecessary to ask of yourself, and be kind. Be kind to yourself. Okay, next question is from Anky's Crafts. Since you're making a magic knot ball, I was wondering, what projects can you make with it? It sounds so fun to do with little scraps, but I don't know what to make with them. because socks wouldn't be comfortable, right? But what else can be cute and useful, but the knots won't be a problem? I've never actually knit or crocheted anything with a magic knot ball before, so I would be really interested to hear from other people about this too, but I'm going to share with you the best information that I have. This is my magic knot ball, my big one. So the blanket that I'm working on right now, I'm making like a smaller magic knot ball with all the leftovers, and then I'll probably just tie it into here. Or maybe I should leave this one as it is because it's already really big. I don't know how many grams it is, but I think it's over 100. And then have like separate magic knot balls. And if I put them all together into one project, I can just magic knot them together at that point, right? Because at some point I feel like it might be too large to like have this pooled. Also, I've seen people cake their magic knot balls before they use them. So I feel like the best thing for a magic knot ball is to be held together with another yarn. That's just my opinion because I feel like it would put less strain on the knots just to have a second yarn in there, and also it would help blend all of the different colors. I'm very into blankets right now, as you know, so I have a couple blanket patterns that I think would be really cool for a magic knot ball. But what I've seen others do with magic knot balls without holding them with anything else is also like crochet things, crocheted blankets. I know my friend Bree, she put together her advent in a magic knot ball. So it was larger chunks of scraps. It wasn't scraps, it was mini skeins, 20-gram mini skeins that she tied and then caked, and then just did a granny stripe blanket and just crocheted straight through everything and never had to stop and join new yarn or anything like that. So I don't know, I've never heard like super horror stories about magic knots, but you just never know what might happen. So the blankets that I found, I want to get the names right here, that hold another yarn. Well, you can hold another yarn with them. The first is the Cozy Comfort Throw by Molly of a Homespun House, and it is fingering weight held with another fingering weight yarn. So I think it could be really cool to have, you know, something really scrappy and colorful, and then maybe a nice neutral, a gray, a white, or just a solid color that you love, and you hold them together as one strand and you knit this Cozy Comfort Throw. I think it might actually have mohair or suri, which could be really fun too. And again, having one color throughout kind of helps to blend everything together nicely. The other one that I thought of is not actually made with 2 strands of fingering weight yarn, but I know other people have done it. It's the Jelly Roll Blanket. I'm pretty sure that Kay, the crazy sock lady right now, is making a DK weight version of this where she is holding 2 strands of fingering weight together. I think she's holding the same 2 strands just to make it thicker, but I think it'd be really cool to hold, again, your fun colored magic knot ball of all your scraps with a neutral and then make that jelly roll blanket. I think that'd be really fun. And then again, if something did happen and your magic knots broke, it's not like your entire blanket would unravel because it would just be a part of the strand. Does that make sense? That's just my opinion, but if you have experience with using magic knot balls and any project suggestions, definitely leave them in the comments for us. All right, let me find where I was here, and let's go to the next question. This one is from Sarah. About the yarn cozies. I haven't made them yet, but was wondering, if you use them and the yarn in the cozy gets smaller, do you then transfer the working yarn to a smaller cozy, or does it stay well in the big one? Okay, good question. And also, I just wanted to say thank you to, I think it was Kendra, for answering this question in a comment. I'm basically just going to echo what you said because you are exactly right. Let me see if I have a cozy that has been, I feel like all of my projects right now have cozies that are, the yarn in the cozy is still pretty full, but maybe, where did this sock go? I've used a decent amount from this one. Okay, so let's just use this one for example. So this is the crocheted 100-gram cozy. I had a 100-gram ball of yarn in here. I mean, I guess technically it still is, but I've used about, I don't know, a good amount of it. I mean, there's still some left in here. So the cozy is here to help you with your center pull cake. So as you're pulling yarn out of the center, the cake is starting to deflate. And without a cozy, if it's in a project bag, I just find mine get really, really messy, especially towards the end. What these do is they will hold on to them until the very, very end. So you can see like I'm only halfway through this one. Sometimes you have to kind of like tuck it back in here a little bit, although this one's stayed really nicely. But it will hold on to it until you have like just the tiniest ring of yarn around the inside of here. So you don't need to transfer it to a smaller cozy. In fact, you won't be able to. Because you're pulling from the center, the outside of the cake still stays the same, if that makes sense. Of course, it kind of collapses, but it's still 100 gram in diameter, if that makes sense. So the only way you'd be able to move it to a smaller one is if you rewound it, which is totally fine. You could definitely do that, recake things, but I think most people just will continue using the same size, and they're definitely intended to use that way. I wish I had one that was more used up, but I guess it's just with the friction maybe of the yarn against the yarn, it will hold on to this until you are down to the tiniest bit. It's absolutely amazing. Not to toot my own horn, but when I made the cozies, I really just made them because I thought they would be, you know, slightly functional and cute. And they have ended up being extremely functional, which is great. It's almost a kind of a luck thing there. But you don't need to transfer them. You don't need to move them down smaller. The smaller cozies are intended for yarn that starts out that size. So if you have a 100 gram skein of yarn that you split into 250 grams, that's when you would use a 50 gram cake. Or if you have a 20 gram mini skein, that's when you'd use a 20 gram cozy. So they're made to work just like that. I also had somebody reach out to me this past week that used the cozies and pulled from the outside. That's not the way they're intended to be used, but they were letting me know that it still did work. They said they did have to kind of, I already put this away. They did have to like hold on, pull this out. They did have to like hold on to the cozy as they pulled because obviously coming from the center has a lot less resistance than coming from the outside, but they said that it still worked and that they still liked it. So that was really good to know. Can use them however works best for you. All right, next up we have a question from Karen. I'm super jealous that you've seen loads of Broadway shows while you've lived in New York. Question your top 5 and or which ones haven't you seen that you wish you had? So I love this question because we are definitely trying to see as many shows as we can before we leave New York. When we moved here in April of 2021, Broadway was closed because of COVID. And so we didn't see our first show, I think until 2022, until like summer of 2022. And since then, we've probably seen one a month. But this last month, we're trying to go to as many as possible. We basically made ourselves a list and we're like, here's what we need to see before we go. We've been trying to see as many as possible through the lottery system, so the ticket is cheaper. Kent's really good at hunting down like deals and things like that. But of course, some of them we weren't able to do that for. So our entire entertainment budget for the month of June is eating at our favorite restaurants one last time and going to Broadway shows. So we're doing a lot of that this month. So my favorite that we have seen, probably Hadestown is super, super good. Hold on, let me change my, just realized that the battery is about to die. One sec. Okay, back with a fresh battery. This one should last us till the end. So Broadway shows. Hadestown is probably one of my favorites. Just the lead singer, female singer, oh my gosh. And just the stage and everything, it's just really, really cool. So that would be one of my favorites, and it's still on Broadway right now. Something that I didn't realize before I moved here is how like things move all the time. They're coming on Broadway, they're coming off of Broadway. It's wild. I just didn't realize that I thought shows were here for like years. I just didn't realize that. Anyway, other ones that I've really loved, Beetlejuice had a very special place in our hearts. Kent was the one who was really into that one. It is no longer on Broadway, but it is touring, so I would suggest going to see that. It's very, very funny. We recently saw Six. I really like that one. It's still here, so you can go and see it. Then Kimberly Akimbo was a new one this year. It just won a bunch of Tony Awards. It surprised us, honestly. We didn't know a lot about it. We didn't know the songs and really enjoyed that one. We've seen a lot of other things, but those are probably my top ones for now. And this week we're going to see Hamilton, finally. So I feel like that's going to be up there in the top 5. Other things that I haven't seen that I want to is Chicago. And I'm probably going to get to see that before we leave as well. So I feel like I'm going to leave having seen everything that I have wanted to see. And of course, I want to see more when we come back and visit and everything. So yeah, Broadway is really awesome. I love it. I love it so much. So that was a fun question to answer. If you have any questions for me, make sure to leave them down in the comments below, but put #question in front of it so we can find your question and answer it in the next podcast. This week's new video is a moving and packing kind of Q&A / vlog, sort of. So basically I had to get my yarn shelf, which is a 2x4 IKEA Calyx shelf, all packed up because I'm not taking it with me. I needed to sell it and I needed to get it emptied. I also just needed to go through a lot of the boxes and bins there, let go of some craft things, and try to get everything packed away nicely into a tub that I could take to my parents' house in Tennessee. And then also decide what things, what tools, what yarns are gonna come with me in our van because we're gonna have really limited space. So while I packed everything up and kind of talked through the decision making there, I also answered a bunch of questions from Instagram about our move and what we're gonna be doing and what van life is going to be like. So that's all into one video. It's kind of chit-chatty like a podcast with a little bit of organization, a little bit of yarny things, and a lot about our move. So go check that one out if you want to see everything that I'm taking with me. Honestly, if you want to see everything that's been in those like wicker baskets for the last few years here in New York, that's all in there. Next week, we are going to have a yarn store tour. It is a yarn store tour of Knitty City, which is a wonderful shop here in Manhattan in the Upper West Side. We were really excited to get to go there before we leave New York and have them give us a tour and also sit down with the owner and interview him. So check that out. It's one of the stores that I always recommend in Manhattan. It's really awesome. It's very big. It's close to my favorite cookie place and close to Central Park. So it's a wonderful place to go. So be on the lookout for that next week. As far as events go, we have Sock Week 2023 coming up July 9th, but you can get in on the fun right now with our events package. The events package is now on sale. We still have a lot of spots, so you're welcome to sign up whenever you're ready. But as soon as you sign up, you get access to our Discord, where I was just on here actually kind of like chatting with people about what they're working on, how we're getting ready for Sock Week, and finishing up sock whips and stuff to get prepared. So with this event package, it includes the Discord community, which is a place to chat with other knitters and crocheters. You can also ask questions about knitting socks, crocheting socks, and just basically have that support from now until through the end of Sock Week, actually through the end of July. But then there's also 5 really fun events that are going to be virtual that will also be recorded because of course that's a lot of events in one week, so we know you might not make them all, but they will be recorded and you are able to watch them if you have this package. So these are the events that are in the Sock Week package. The first event is on Friday, July 7th, so before Sock Week officially begins, and it's at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and it is with Andrea Louie, who is the knitting PT. We're calling this event Upper Body Posture and Hand Ergonomics for Makers, and Andrea is a physical therapist, and she is going to be teaching us all about how to set ourselves up best for Sock Week, because we're going to be doing some marathon knitting and crochet. How do you prevent injury? How do you kind of set up your knitting workstation, hand positions, taking care of your body while you knit and crochet during Sock Week. And of course it would apply to beyond that as well. So really excited to hear from her on that. It's going to be a workshop and we'll also get to ask our questions during that event. So it's going to be really good. Then on Saturday, July 8th at midnight, so it's basically midnight, like Saturday night to Sunday morning, because Sock Week officially starts at midnight. We are doing a midnight cast-on party on Zoom. That's going to be hosted by me and Kent. We're going to have some kind of like fun little games and stuff to kind of kick us off, and then we'll probably just have a little bit of an open kind of chat and sharing and seeing what yarns people are working on and stuff like that. So that's going to be a really, really fun one, and it doesn't matter if it's not midnight for you. We'll actually be in Tennessee at that point, so it will be 11 p.m., which I'm kind of like, thank goodness, because staying up late is not my thing. But if you're in California and it's 9 p.m., that's okay. If you're in Australia and it's 12 p.m. the next day, that's okay. Anyone can join in the package and start their socks at that time. Then on Wednesday, July 12th at 7 p.m., we are going to have a sock expert panel. We did this last year during Sock Week with 3 different guests, sock designers, and it was really fun to kind of do a triple interview and get to know all these sock designers at the same time. So this year we have 3 new people. We have Lindsay of Sock Witchery, Emma of Bloom and Create, and Julie of Twin Stitches Designs. So this event is at 7 p.m. from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and we will get to learn from them all about sock knitting. So that one's going to be really great. The next night, on Thursday, July 13th, also at 7 p.m. I know a lot of this stuff is all at the same time. Again, these events are recorded. If you're not able to come right at the start, you're welcome to come, part of the way through the event at any time. But all the events will be recorded, so you'll be able to watch them in full. But we're going to do a celebrity family feud with 6 of our Sock Week sponsors. We're going to have Kat and Penny from Cesium Yarns, Emily from Crochet Creations, Tracy from Grizzly Knits, Devin from Pencils and Parsley, Mandy of Mad Cow Mandy Designs, and Carrie of Stolen Minutes. And we're going to divide them into teams, and then they're going to play a yarny version of Family Feud. If you don't know what Family Feud is, it's a game where basically they've polled 100 people and asked them a question, and those answers, they consolidate into like 8 or fewer answers, and then the participants, the contestants, have to guess those answers. And if they guess the number 1 answer, it's the most points. If they guess like the number 8 answer, it's less points. Anyway, it's going to be really fun. So everyone who is in the Sock Week events package will actually get sent a survey about all these knitting and crochet questions. We'll make sure that our contestants don't see it, just so they can't be like anticipating ahead of time. But nobody will know what the answers are until we get to the event. And then we will have a very yarny version of Family Feud. And everyone in the audience will get to play along. With Zoom, there's a chat box, so you'll get to guess all the answers right alongside them. But it will be really, really fun. And of course, we'll get to know them throughout the event. The last event, the 5th one, is going to be on Saturday, July 15th, the second to last day of Sock Week, at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I know all of our Europeans are probably like, oh, Natalie, everything's in the evening, which means it's the middle of the night, and I know, I'm really sorry. Again, they'll be recorded, but this 3 p.m. event, I had you in mind so that you can join in live. This is going to be a sock show and tell hosted by me on Zoom. And since we're going to be almost finished with Sock Week, we are just going to go around and share what we've been working on during Sock Week. It doesn't matter. It's not a competition about how many socks you've made. Although if you've made a bunch of socks, we're all going to be so proud of you. So don't worry about that. But like, I just want to see like what people have been working on, what yarns you've been using, all of that stuff during our sock show and tell. So those are the 5 events. I'll have the link down below. You can check everything out, see if it looks interesting to you. The package is $30, which kind of breaks down to $5 per event, plus $5 for the Discord. Try to give a really, really good deal here. If you are interested in either the Fish Lips Kiss Heel mini course that I teach, or my Perfect Fit Sock course, the price has not changed on those, but if you get them right now, you will get the Sock Week events package as a free bonus. So again, all the details will be down below on that, but I'm getting really excited for Sock Week. It's coming up so soon. I will continue to update on Instagram about our sponsor products, but you should probably grab them now if you're wanting to have any of the sponsor products in time for Sock Week. If you're domestic in the United States, I would say we're already ticking down on the clock for that. So grab what you can. Sock Week's gonna be amazing, and all the details will be linked down below. This past week literally feels like a lifetime. I feel like so much has happened. I think I said that last week too. So it must just be with moving, time is moving fast and slow in different ways, and it feels long, but also short. I don't know. Anyway, this past week, I had a second varicose veins procedure, my second one this year. If you don't know, I have varicose veins in my legs. Happy to talk to you about it because I feel like it's something that not a lot of people actually talk about and understand. Even in like the medical community, it's in insurance, it's not really recognized as something that is covered a lot of the times, and it's really, really frustrating because varicose veins, it's not about the way that they look, although that can be problematic, of course, but they're actually very painful, very uncomfortable. And for me, I cannot sit comfortably for more than like 5 minutes before I'm in like discomfort, unless I'm wearing compression, and even then it's not super comfortable for me. So I have been trying to get my veins repaired, or rather like take care of the varicose since October of last year. It's a really long process. I had a procedure in March, which did some things, but it didn't really fix the discomfort that I was having. And so luckily I was able to request to go ahead and get a second surgery, or procedure rather, before I left New York. So I had that last week. I knit on my socks while I was in the waiting room. This time felt so different because I knew what to expect, but I was knitting on my socks while I was in the waiting room, had the procedure on Wednesday afternoon, got a nice big burger afterwards because I had to fast for a part of the day, and kind of the next few days I was able to really have pretty normal work days. I didn't feel as much discomfort and pain as I did the last time I had it. So I had Kent move over one of our like ottomans from our couch so that I could put my leg up while I worked at our desk, because I had to be wrapped up in a bandage for 2 days, and then I got that off on Friday and pretty much had a normal weekend, which was really, really nice. I can't say, I feel like it's too soon to tell if it's really fix the damage this time, but it does feel better than last time. So I'm really, really hoping that everything is good, and I'm really excited to get back to normal activity today. I get to go to Pilates again today, so hopefully all is well, but I will probably be going to the doctor in Tennessee later in the year and just kind of checking on everything, because now I'm starting to have issues with my other leg, unfortunately. It's just the way that things are with this varicose stuff. Anyway, enough about that. On Thursday evening, I guess with sitting around a lot, like most of my evenings, I either have maybe a membership event, or I have something I'm doing out, or I am going to Pilates, and then, you know, I get out of the house for the day. But for Thursday and Friday, I didn't get to go anywhere because my leg was wrapped up and everything. And so I was feeling a little restless. And so I came up with this idea for Kent and I to have a nostalgia night. So we walked to Target, and we each had $5 to spend on like nostalgic snacks. And then we already had dinosaur chicken nuggets at home. So we made dinosaur chicken nuggets, mac and cheese. I got us some dessert. I got Nutty Buddies, which are like one of my favorite things. They're already gone. We ate them all. And I got Kent Cosmic Brownies. He got the bagel bites were too expensive because we wanted to stick in our low budget. So he got this like pizza thing. And then what else did he get? I can't remember. Oh, mac and cheese. And so we kind of made ourselves like a little feast of nostalgia, and it was awesome. And then we watched a DCOM original because I wanted to pick a nostalgic movie to watch. And we watched Get a Clue, which has Lindsay Lohan in it. I think it was from 2002 or something. I don't know. I had never actually seen it, so it was new to me. It was pretty pretty cheesy. But it was based in New York and it was kind of fun to watch. So Kent and I both watched that while I was crocheting and he was playing video games, and we had a great little nostalgia night. It was very, very fun. Then on Saturday, I went to my last monthly knit group with the New York City knitters. Luckily, I got to see them last weekend because of Worldwide Knit Public Day, and then we always meet on the third Saturday of the month. This time we met in Brooklyn in Dumbo, and so I went out there and I brought myself a little chair so I could like put my leg up and things because it was still kind of recovering and everything. And I knit on my sock a lot on the way out there, and then I switched over to working on my crochet granny squares, got a latte, got a croissant, and just had a really great time. We were sat by in Dumbo, which is between the two bridges, so it's a really lovely view, in a picnic table. The weather was great. I think it was just below 80 degrees, but we were in the shade, and there was a little bit of a breeze off of the East River, so it was so nice. It was really, really great. I had a wonderful time and stayed a little longer and chatted with my friend Emily for a while, who also used to live in a van, so that was really cool. Also on Saturday, we tried a new sushi place. So our favorite sushi place here in New York City, one of the people that started that now has a new restaurant that just opened. And so they're still kind of in their soft opening phase. And so we went to try it, and it was awesome. It was great. It's in Columbus Circle. It's called Sushi Yolo if you need a sushi place to go in New York. It is an omakase, so they're hand making each piece in front of you, and then you're giving them to you one at a time. So it's a pricier menu, but it's so good. Like, I used to not really care for sushi, and then I had omakase and I'm like, oh, I just haven't had like really fresh sushi before. So now I really like it, but now it's ruined all other sushi for me. Anyway, it's a really great place. So we tried that out. It was really, really fun, very delicious. And of course we have our original favorite place that's, you know, still the favorite in our hearts, Omakase by Karami, that we're going to be going to this week, so we can go one last time before we move. On Sunday, we also had a really nice dinner. We were really spoiled this weekend. One of our friends took us out to dinner to an Italian place actually back in Dumbo. So we went back to Brooklyn and we went to Dumbo. We had actually I can't remember the name of the restaurant, but it's like right there on the water, like not even 20 steps from where I was the day before, knitting on a picnic bench. But we had a really nice drink while we were waiting for our table to be ready. We sat outside. It was beautiful. The only thing is that there was a big construction fence, or like a chain link fence, and some construction equipment that kind of blocked our view of the bridge. So it's fine. But it was really, really nice. The weather was great. It was very comfortable. The food was really, really good. We basically got a bunch of different appetizers and entrees and shared them. So that was really, really fun. And then by the time we were finished, it was dark outside. So we walked along the East River, got to see all of the lights of the city and all the lights on the bridge. And it was really, really lovely. A nice way to spend a Sunday night. So yeah, you probably will see us out to eat and out to shows and out to museums, and then just packing and moving for the next like 2 weeks. That's pretty much all we're going to be doing. I have finished a book. Actually, because it's a physical book, I brought it over here. I need to figure out what to do with it because I like to put it in the little free library, but I don't know where any are around here. I haven't even tried looking yet, but I need to look up and see if I can find one. If there are any in Manhattan that I am close to. But I finished this, The Last Word by Taylor Adams, and I started reading it at night because I read at night and I also read in the morning, and it was way too spooky for me to read at night, so I shifted it into the morning slot. I have to say I almost didn't finish this book because it is kind of gory and gruesome and dark, and I'm only just now starting to realize that I do enjoy books like this at the right time, which is in the morning. And I like the suspense. I like everything about it, but it's a lot. So I almost didn't finish it, or almost didn't keep reading on it. But I could tell that there were going to be a lot of connections made like throughout the story. So the way that it's written, actually, wait, let me just tell you what the first little thing is. So it says, after posting a negative book review, a woman living in a remote location begins to wonder if the author is a little touchy or very, very dangerous. In this pulse-pounding novel of psychological suspense and terror from the critically acclaimed author of No Exit and Hairpin Bridge. And I'm not running out to get his other books just because this one scared me. But anyway, it was really good. So the way it's written is it's in 4 parts, and part of it is from one character's point of view, and part of it is from another character's point of view, which I like things like that. I like it when like you don't have the full story right away and you're kind of getting bits and pieces of a character's past, and that's exactly how this was. And there were so many twists and turns, especially at the end. It was like, it was nuts. So honestly, great book, a little slow to start, definitely spooky, but I would recommend this one. And I got this one from Book of the Month, which was great. So now I'm done with it. I don't need to keep it. I don't hang on to books after I'm done with them. So I just need to figure out a way to let that one go. And again, like I said earlier, when I was answering that question about getting rid of things, it might end up going to Salvation Army with our other things, just because it might, if it's going to take me like 1 hour to walk or get to a little free library and I'm not already going that way, I'm not going to take the time to do that. You know what I mean? Like you have to, I know it's just one book to get rid of, but you have to think about what's going to work best for you. What was that? Like a fluff? I am still reading Patterns in the Sand by Sally Goldenbaum, which is a cozy knitting murder mystery. It is the second book in this series. I have to say, like, I'm on these books. Like, they're good, but they kind of take a while to read. For a cozy murder mystery, I don't know if it's, or a cozy, am I saying the right thing? A cozy mystery? For those, I feel like they should be quick to read, and this one is not quick to read. The characters are, there's a lot of characters and a lot of names, and I don't know, I just think that it's hard to follow, and I don't know if it's just me having to keep up with all the characters or the writing, but I do like them. They're very cute, but I don't know if I'll continue. I probably will continue to read them, but I don't know, I just want to preface it like that. I find it challenging to read sometimes when I feel like it shouldn't be a challenging read, if that makes sense. But a good story overall. So I am making my way through that one. And then I am listening to Hooked by Sutton Foster. Is that the right name? Yes, Sutton Foster. And that one's really great too. I am enjoying listening to it, and I have been listening to it while I've been walking to appointments, to Pilates, going on the train, you know, to Brooklyn twice this weekend, and that's been really fun to listen to. It's an autobiography with a little bit of crochet and crafting in there. Probably wouldn't be something I would read unless I was listening to it, but it's been good so far. This week's tip is something new. I've added a new tutorial to my channel, and it is all about fixing a snag in your knitting. So here's a photo of a snag that I recently found in a lacy shawl. It's one of the items that I was shipping out as a for my finished object giveaway, and I was like, oh no, I cannot send this away with this huge snag in it. Basically in knitting, when you get a snag, it's, you know, something, maybe your jewelry or maybe a door or something gets caught on a stitch and then it gets pulled. And so you'll get this long loop, but it's all connected to stitches that come before it or after it, and it will just kind of pull really, really tight that row of knitting. So your knitting is like this, right? It's like up and down like little waves, and when it gets pulled, it becomes a flat line. So in order to unsnag things, you have to take that extra yarn that's been pulled out and ease it back into place. It is an art, kind of, I feel like. You kind of have to play with things and figure it out, but I filmed myself while I was fixing things, and I've put it up on the channel as a YouTube short. You may have also seen it on Instagram, so I will be linking to that. I don't know if I can link to it here. If not, it will be down below as well. But I filmed a little tutorial on how to fix a snag. something that you will probably come across at some point in your knitting career. So I hope that this helps. All right, thank you so much for watching this episode. I'll be back next week for our last podcast in New York City. I can't believe it. It's gonna be kind of sad, I think. I don't know if I should do something special or I'll just be so like, with the move that it will just be like, we're gonna film it. Even between filming everything today, I am chatting with people on Facebook Marketplace about selling our bed. So the rest of this afternoon is probably gonna be taking this bed apart and unscrewed out of the wall, and we may not have a bed for the last 2 weeks of living here, which is fine. We can sleep on our couch. It's a big enough couch. But yeah, that's where my mind is at right now. A little bit of craziness, a little bit of chaos with knitting and crochet keeping me grounded. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.